Trump can win the election. Trump can win the election. And when you tell people this, they say there's no way. I'm going to tell you how he can win the election. By losing all his cases, the electoral college, votes, popular vote, everything, he can still win. And nobody's thinking about this. Nobody cares about this. Nobody's asking about this because they're under this delusion, this idea that somehow he can't win. Trump can win. And I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to love it. And you're going to say, why didn't somebody tell me about this before? And why wasn't this made available? And let me explain this to you. It's one of the most fascinating stories there is. Because he can win. And I want you to pray that California and other states actually try to keep him off the ballot through this lunacy, this idiocy called the 14th Amendment. To keep him off by invoking the fact that because he was some kind of an insurrectionist, they can keep him off. Do you want me to tell you how that happens? This is the most fascinating thing. I mentioned it the other day in passing, but I didn't spend enough time because this is what you have to tell people. And I want you to take notes and pay attention and know this and tell your friends, especially all your lefty lunatic friends, and tell them and scare them into thinking, oh my God, this guy can win. This guy can win. If in particular, they try to knock him off the ballot. Doesn't make sense, does it? Doesn't make sense. How does that work? You mean he's going to win? Yes, if they try to knock him off the ballot. Now sit tight, my friends. First of all, welcome. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for joining us. I mean, also, thanks to Xander, who says your insight into political issues are genius. Do you think the Dems will try to steal the election? Yes, you can guarantee it. My dear friends, let me ask you a very simple question. First of all, please thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to the channel. You know this routine. And I'm going to say this very quickly. Very quickly. We have two sponsors I want you to support. Very quickly. PrepareWithLionel.com. I've got the link below, the link in the comments section. This is for emergency food. Save $200 on a 3-month emergency food kit. PrepareWithLionel.com. They are simply the best. Do you hear what I'm saying? They're the best. And number 2, the great Mike Lindell and our great friends at MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. Get a free gift. You hear what I'm saying? Okay. Now listen carefully. How does this work? How does this work? This is the most beautiful thing in the world. You've heard before the 14th Amendment only refers to Civil War situations. No. This is something that Professor Dershowitz tried to imply, that this was only for the Civil War. No. It's good. It's good. It's nice, but no. Not really. Not at all close to even being remotely similar. How does this thing work? Well, let's go through the list, shall we? Let's go through it and let's see if we can break this baby down. And I have my notes that I have prepared for you, which is most interesting. And it works something like this. Stand by for a second. I've got so many of my, what you want to call it, open. Hang on a second. Talk amongst yourself. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Oh, come on, for the love of God. You know, they just changed this thing right now. Chrome just changed their, whatever you want to call it, and I despise it. I despise it. Stand by. Let me try this again, please. I had everything all lined up. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Here's how it works. First, the California Democrats are considering using the 14th Amendment to basically knock Trump off the ballot. 9 lawmakers wrote a letter to the Attorney General, Bob Bonta, arguing that Trump isn't eligible to be on the ballot because he was, in essence, guilty of inciting an insurrection when a mob of his supporters attacked the U.S. Capitol. Okay. Now, this particular move, which is in part of the lawsuits and everything else to keep Trump off the ballot, is unique because California, the Attorney General, could expedite a kind of a ruling, a state ruling. And should the effort succeed, should California be able to keep Trump off its ballot, well, what happens next? Could Trump return the favor? Well, first thing, a couple of things is very interesting. This is being currently debated, as you know. Dershowitz and others brought this thing up. And it says in this particular point, no person, this is Article 3, or Section 3 rather, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against this state, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. The Congress may vote, blah, 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 blah. You got this? You got this? Now, Trump's actions on January 6th, it is alleged, supposedly, as people say, made him the leader, I guess, or the organizer of the insurrection. Now, the best argument about this was promoted by former U.S. Attorney General Michael Mukasey. And he says as follows: the use of the term officer of the United States in other constitutional provisions in court shows that it refers only to appointed officials, not elected ones. And it gives some citations, meaning that the president is not an officer. He was elected. Interesting. And he makes no reference to the 14th Amendment. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. If this argument doesn't hold up, if he's wrong, if they say, no, it doesn't really apply, okay, fine. So California and the other attorneys general and governors and lawsuits could throw Trump off the ballot, especially if they're swing states with Democratic governors like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and blah, blah, blah. But then, and this is when it gets fantastic. But then Republicans could do the same thing in their swing states, throwing Biden off the ballot. They could say that his alleged bribes from communist China, CCP, would disqualify him under the 14th Amendment or Section 3 wording that says, given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Republican governors invoking that clause could say, okay, you're off. You see what happens? Now remember, this is a political, if you will, recourse, not necessarily legal. Yes, it's in the Constitution, but just like with the case of impeachment, it's a political aspect. Now, if that happened, you knock Trump off, you knock Biden off. Neither Trump nor Biden gets the 270 electoral votes. And what happens? What happens then? What happens then? Are you following this? What happens if they don't get the votes? The thing that happens then is referred to as a contingent election. The phrase is not used in the Constitution per se, but it means that the matter is now decided by the House of Representatives. Or in the case that this was a vice president, it would be in the Senate. There have been 3 so far. Thomas Jefferson beat Aaron Burr in 1800. John Quincy Adams beat Andrew Jackson in 1825. And in 1837, the vice presidential election was given to Richard Mentor Johnson over Francis Granger. It gets even better. Under a contingent election in the House, all 435 members, they don't get to vote. Rather, each state delegation gets 1 vote, 50 votes total. Who has the majority? Think about this. There was an article in The Guardian. And by the way, I referred you to this wonderful, let me just give credit where credit is due. This is from Epoch Times to John Seiler, Seiler. Fantastic, an excellent piece. In September 18th, The Guardian said, quote, this is a lefty magazine, here's the scary part, or here's the scary way Trump could win without the electoral or popular vote. In a contingent election, he could lose the popular vote, the electoral college, and all his legal cases and still end up legal president. Let me say this again. He could lose the popular vote, the electoral college, all his cases, and be president. State delegations in the House would favor Republicans as a matter of course. In the struggle for congressional delegates, Republicans would have 19 safe House delegations, and the Democrats would have 14, which with more states leaning Republican than Democrat. And there you have it. So, California, wanting to start this by knocking Trump off, would guarantee he becomes president. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's absolutely, positively plausible. So when anybody asks you, when anybody says, well, how would Trump win? You say that's exactly how it works. It's fantastic. Go ahead. Knock him off. So let's go through the argument again. A friend of yours says, well, they're going to knock Trump off because of the 14th Amendment. Excuse me, he's not an officer. Huh? He's not an officer. He's elected. He's not an officer. What the hell are you talking about? Born to raise hogs, thank you so much, dear friend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. He's not an officer. He's not an officer. But he's a... No, read it. You did read it, didn't you? Well, of course I read it. And if somebody says, oh, that's balderdash. Great. Let's use it then. You say I started an insurrection. I say you gave aid and comfort to our enemies. And it's a political story. And if this courts say, well, if that's what they think, who are we to say? Court's not going to intervene and say, excuse me, the bribes that Biden took did or did not affect China. They're not going to have what, a trial on that? No, it's not. There's no trial of fact. That's a political thing. If you say it is, it is. They're both knocked off. Neither gets 270. Goes to the House. Majority. Ta-da! This is where I love this stuff. This is where I think to myself, dear God, it's just beautiful. Because you don't understand, my friend. I did a piece before. America has a cancer. I don't want to use that term too loosely, but it's just horrible. This is something which I've never. Let me see if I can explain this to you. There is no corollary to this. You understand this? There is no corollary. I was talking to friends, and we'll talk some other time, about what is happening to areas and housing, and how all of a sudden this low income housing is coming in where people aren't going to be working anymore. They're just brought in and into the most highest blue chip, real estate areas. Why? To cause and wreak havoc. Donald Trump can win this thing. And let me see if I can explain this to you. I am trying to, I hate to keep saying this, but I'm looking at this thing. America has a cancer. And I'm sorry to keep saying this, but it's the best analogy there is. And Trump is chemotherapy. Trump is exactly what this country needs. He's chemotherapy. And what he is, and this is important, and what he is and what's critical about this, and what is, I can't put it into words, it's like nothing we've ever seen before. And we don't understand how it is that we don't understand how it ever got to this point. And we don't understand why nobody's doing anything about it. And I was watching all last week and watching these Jim Jordans and others talk in this feverish way, this impassioned excitement over Hunter Biden. My dear friends, nobody cares about Hunter Biden. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. There are people from some shadow government contingent desiring and hoping and planning to destroy this country. It's like nothing we've seen. They want to destroy this country. Now, when I say that, I know you're going to, people have always said that. They've always said, well, some people didn't want to destroy this country. They wanted to change this country. This is about destroying this. This is not a liberal movement of people coming into the country trying to spread or to introduce a liberal doxy and theory. No. This is an attempt to destroy everything. And that's what's happening right now. And let me just tell you something. Nobody wants to talk about this. And I think this time what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm hoping is true, is that Trump and others are finally getting their act together and other stuff together and realizing that if they're going to do something to fight back, if they're going to actually have a shot at beating the bad guys, he's going to have all of his delegate to understand the procedure of this, to know how the delegates work, to understand all of that process. Plus, if he gets into office, if he were to get into it, and it's not out of the realm of reason at all, he's got to understand how he works around. He needs his own Jim Baker. He needs somebody to work around him. You hear what I'm saying? You need somebody. And this is important. This is critical. You need somebody to involve themselves in this who knows what they're doing. Thank you, Bob. That's all I'm going to say. Now, here we go. This is the part. This is the most important. What happens next? The question is, can the Republicans have this stolen? Yes. Can the Democrats steal it? Yes. Can the Democrats steal this? Yes. Absolutely. Can the Democrat? Yes. They can do it. Is anybody going to be watching? I don't know. Does anybody care? I don't know. I can't tell if it's ineptitude. I can't tell. I don't know anymore. See, that's the real problem. And the hardest part about all this is that I can't answer anybody's questions because I can't figure this out. It's like, what do they want? Somebody somewhere must be saying, we want to destroy sovereignty by having borders overrun by illegals. Who is saying that? Who wants that? Does Biden want this? No. Does AOC want illegals to pour over and to destroy sovereignty? No, nobody does. Do you think AOC secretly desires, AOC, to perpetuate and promote this idea that children can have their genders transmogrified, maybe even against their will, by parents who... No, I don't believe that for a moment. I don't believe any of that. None of it. I don't believe that's true. None of it. So what is this? I've never seen anything like it. It doesn't make any sense. We can't figure it out. Who wants this? Something you can kind of figure out. In the old days, during days of Ramsey Clark or Bill Kunstler or Tony Serra or people who were involved in, radical, not radical, but leftist, politics and the like. How do these people, how do I say this? How do they justify? Maybe they thought the criminal justice system was racist. Okay, fine. But nobody wanted just to open up. Nobody, for example, wanted Attica to just open up and say, let them all out. Bill Kunstler never said, let them all out. They're all innocent. They're all nice people. No. What these people are saying is they want that. They want the destruction of listen to me, they want the destruction of our civilization. They want they want the destruction. They want to let everybody go. Who is for that? We've never seen this before. Nobody has said this. Do you think Nancy Pelosi wants the guy who hammered her husband to just walk free? You're never going to know what happened with that. Do you want people who are charged with serious crimes? No. So who's behind this? George Soros sort of is involved in this kind of this radical prosecutor state. But does he want this? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's counterintuitive to basically destroy the system, lessen it, have more alternatives to carceral type. Fine, I get it. But this, no. And nobody ever that I know, any politician at any point said, one day it would be a good idea if we just removed the border. No. It was almost like somebody said, beginning today. You understand this? Beginning today. We're all going to be for this. You got it? We're going to be what? We're all for no borders. Why are we for no borders? We just are. You got it? That's exactly what people are doing. I don't know. So you're asking me, who is this? If you went and got AOC alone and said, listen, Sandy, do me a favor. I'm not going to tell anybody this. Where does this come from? Where does this come from? She would say to you, I don't know. Glenn Hughes, by the way, says, Lionel, you're too nice of a guy. You need to start thinking like a criminal. Then you'll have your answer. No. What I'm saying is, where did this come from now? Let me try it again, Glenn. And thank you, by the way. Glenn, nobody has mentioned this ever before. Politicians aren't afraid to tell you. They're not afraid to say, and one day it is our goal to completely empty the jails, have critical legal theories, studies, to have restorative justice. It is our goal to let everybody go. Nobody's ever said that. Now we're saying this. Nobody's ever said, open the borders. Nobody has ever said that. Nobody ever said, and we want people walking around in our major cities, tranked out, gone. Nobody said this. No, Glenn. Let me ask you something. Think like a criminal yourself. Who is responsible for this? How did this happen? And why are we wasting time talking about Hunter Biden? There is some leadership level. There is something above the fray, above the madding crowd, that is directing this. That is saying, go ahead and do this. There are people. Now, you might say, well, maybe when it comes to the energy business, EV and stuff, yeah, I can see that because there's a dollar part of it. I can see the energy aspect of that. Sure, that's always been there. But this, Glenn, think like a criminal, Glenn. Think like a criminal. Let me ask you something so you know how to think like a criminal. Who was it who said for the first time, let's make sure that we openly advocate, and from the highest levels, even from teaching hospitals on down, we want children to all of a sudden be, okay, we want children to be affected and to have their genders destroyed. Where did this come from? Did you ever hear anybody, anywhere, at any time? I heard people, a little bit about the borders, maybe. Okay, maybe. A little bit about EV. Where did that come from? So, two cases. One, crime. I never heard that. Let them go. And number two, let's take children. Forget the gay. We heard gay and whatever. But this, no, this is something completely different. Where did this proliferation of all of a sudden trans come from? Think like a criminal, Glenn. Think like a criminal. Where did the trans come from? Where? Have you ever heard anybody anywhere at any time on any show? I mean, there were things like RuPaul, but that was more like drag, but it was almost kitschy entertainment. Where did you ever hear anybody say, no, we're going to take kids, and if they show the slightest inclination or the slightest interest in maybe having a sex change operation, we're going to do it, and we're going to take them away from their parents in the event the parent does not succeed? Tell me, Glenn. Tell me. Think like a criminal. Where did this come from? Where? What's the purpose? Evie, I got it. I understand it. The border, okay, maybe, I don't know. For labor, cheaper labor, maybe there's some kind of, but this doesn't make any sense. Where does this come from? Where did you ever see this opening of the floodgates of new designer drugs? This you could argue, okay, maybe it's China, but absolutely no interest whatsoever in stopping fentanyl and opioids. No, Glenn. No, my friend. Think like a governor. I'm like a governor criminal. Glenn says, let's stay on the border. Let's stay on the border. Who is a recipient of the hundreds of billions of dollars the coyotes are collecting money from? Let's stay on the border. Who is the recipient of the hundreds of billions of dollars? Okay, well, here's the best part. You don't even need the coyote, and thank you, by the way, Glenn. You don't even need them because you're coming in. The coyote, like, notice the way I say that. Very nice. The coyote is like Latino. You say Latino because the Latino, the coyote, all of a sudden, from Tijuana, not Tijuana, Tijuana, that's up to, okay, we're going to bring you here. Now, we'll get you in. You don't even need an escort. Come on in. What did you do the coyote for? Maybe getting there. I know the cartels are running everything. I understand this. So you could argue, do you think the cartels are splitting it with? Follow it through. The cartels get, okay, the money. Is there a kickback? Do they kick it on upstairs to the skipper like in the mob? To the what? I mean, they're making money there, certainly, but do you think, now here's the most important part. Why is no one talking about this? Oh, they'll have a hearing here or there. Do you think the Republicans, Glenn, are bought off? Are they bought off? Democrats don't say anything. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody is talking about this. This is the most, this is, we're talking about everything else under the sun except the most obvious. And I don't know who these people are. How is it that we are not talking about this every single day? They're going crazy. You've got Eric Adams, the mayor of New York. You've got Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York. You've got Muriel Bowser. You got everybody. You've got all these people who are screaming, help us. What are we doing? We've got to do something. I'm asking you, my friends, what? We don't know. We can ask these questions. Oh, follow the money. Okay. That's nice. Well, we got to the bottom of this. Follow the money. Look who makes the money. Okay, who's making the money? Well, they're making money. So what do we do now that we figured out who did it? What do we do to get these people to stop this immediately? This is what I don't understand, my friend. And that's why America has a cancer. It's not, this is, our system is just stopped. It's stopped. It's through. It's horrible. You understand that? Think about that, my dear friends. Think about that. Thank you. So you are so wise, so with it. Also remember, when the you know what hits the fan, my friend, buy Patriot Supply. Take $200 off a 3-month emergency food kit right now. The best deal ever from the best company there is for emergency food that you will need. Preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. And don't forget our great friend Mike Lindell at mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. And you'll get, ready for this, you'll get a free gift. I know, versus a gift you pay money for. All right, dear and wondrous and great friends, thank you so much. You were so kind. Wait a minute. Glenn says, yes, yes. Okay, Glenn, thank you. Glenn says, yes, yes. Xander, thank you. Born to Raise Hogs, thank you. Mr. Hughes, thank you for your kindness, your perspicacity, and your love of charity and good humor. All right, dear friends, you have a great and a glorious day. Please don't change. Don't ever change. Have a wonderful day. Don't ever change. I mean this sincerely. And until we see each other again, that will be tomorrow. Don't forget also subscribe to the channel. Got a brand new video, brand new one. Make sure you sign up for it. Have a great and a glorious day. See you tomorrow morning. And don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Dead. Wait a minute. One more thing. Oh, Hot Pocket. Hot Pocket. Thank you, Hot Pocket. Almost miss you there, buddy boy. Thank you, my friends. See you tomorrow. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya.